Hello, and welcome to Pajamas and Paranoia, where we get cozy and ruin our sleep schedules together. I am V, and tonight we're reading scary Reddit stories because apparently therapy is expensive. So grab a blanket, turn down the lights, and let's get paranoid. All of our stories tonight come from the Paranormal Encounters subreddit. So if y'all are ready, we're going to dive right in. Our first story tonight is called A Ghost Got in My Car at a Cemetery. Hello, everyone. Thought you might like to hear what happened to me tonight. I've been trying to get in more exercise lately and go for walks every day. There's two big cemeteries close to me that are right across the street from each other. I like to go there for walks because one full lap of the pathway around the outside is a little over a mile. I usually go during the day, but sometimes at night because I work night shift and it's the only time I can fit it in. Tonight was one of those. I woke up at 5 p.m., ran some errands, and came back home, laid around for a few hours with nothing to do. Around 9 p.m., I decided I should go for my walk. So I got dressed and drove over to the cemeteries. I parked my car along the fence on the side of the larger one, the entrance to the other directly across the street. I like to walk through both usually, so I started with the smaller one, taking my time and looking at headstones with my little flashlight I bring. I walked back across the street to the bigger one and started my lap around the outside. I've never really felt anything creepy in there, despite my frequent 3-4 a.m. visits. Tonight was no different. I took my time, enjoying my podcast I was listening to while I walk, and stopped to look around and pick up the little statues and trinkets that had been knocked over at different graves. As I was finishing my lap around the outside, I was getting close to where I'd parked, just outside the entrance gate. I was coming up from the back side of my car, and I could see inside the back window. The street light coming through illuminated the very clear silhouette of a man sitting in the back seat of my car. I stopped dead in my tracks and stared for a few seconds, just to make sure it wasn't a weird shadow and my brain wasn't just inventing things to scare me. At that point, I was assuming that there was a living person in there. I live a fairly safe place, but not that great. There's been reports lately of people getting their cars broken into, so I assumed that's what was going on. I stepped off the pavement and into the rows of headstones to take a wider path around to see my car from the side. I did bring my gun with me, as I usually do if I'm going to be walking around at night. I drew it from my holster while still staring at the shape of the man in my back seat. I saw his head turn either toward me or the window on the other side. I couldn't really tell because all I was seeing was the shape with no details. I stopped behind a headstone large enough to sort of crouch behind. I hit the unlock button on my key fob because I remembered it turns on the interior lights. I was ready to have to get either a homeless man or a criminal out of my car, but when the lights came on, there was nothing there. Whatever or whoever was there vanished. I walked out of the gate and all the way around my car, gun in hand, expecting a person, looking through the windows down at the floor in case they'd hit or something, even though there was really no room for someone to hide in a Prius. Anyway, after making sure there was nobody around, or any oogity boogities, sorry about that, in my car, I jumped in and floored it back home. I had a few spooky encounters in my life, but this was the first one that really got me good. I feel like I should go sage my car or something. Okay, so this one got me. This one was spooky, y'all. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I could not imagine being by myself in the dark and seeing someone in my vehicle. I would honestly have just been like walking home at that point because I would not have been brave enough. Though I guess now in the world of cell phones, I would have just called the cops and had them come and check it out for me. But I love, one, that while she was out, she was protected. Love that for her. Two, could not imagine like seeing somebody in my vehicle and just being by myself. That would get me regardless. Man, woman, doesn't matter. That was spooky. And then on top of that, at a cemetery, which is ridiculous. But I mean, I get it. If that's where you walk, that's where you walk. But I personally would find another place to walk, like the school track. Like, they usually have lights, big bright lights. But yeah, so this one got me. Let me know if this one was spooky to you. Let me know in the comments what you thought or how you would have reacted. So creepy. Oh my goodness. All right, so let's get on to story number 2. All right, so let's get into our second story, Mimic. We bought a foreclosed home that was abandoned for 20 years but has good bones. We've been living in the house for 10 years now, and things have always been a little off. When my daughter was around 12 weeks to a year old, I would wake up in a state of sleep paralysis. I would see a black mass, the nightlight was on in the room for middle of the night feedings, that would stretch from a corner that still creeps me out over my daughter's crib. I would start to pray, but no sound would come out. I would keep trying to pray over and over, feeling like I was screaming at the top of my lungs, only to actually wake myself up, for real, screaming a prayer for protection. The dog would always position herself between my daughter's crib, myself, and the corner. Sometimes at night, I'd wake up hearing her growl, but see nothing in the room. We had the house blessed. The black mass plaguing my sleep disappeared for years, and life was normal. However, things would disappear. One Christmas Eve, when my daughter was around 2 or 3, I was organizing and staging her outfit, but could not find the shoes that I had bought a few days prior. Her father and I tore the house apart looking for those shoes, but they were nowhere to be found. Christmas morning, we woke up, got out of bed, and started making the bed, and then the missing shoes were on my pillow. The pillow I was just sleeping on 5 minutes before. After that, little things would happen, like doors opening that were closed, lights being on in rooms that no one had entered, and at night it would sound like a 4-legged animal or a few children were running back and forth in the upstairs or on the roof. Yes, we checked. There was nothing there. We ignored it, had the house blessed again, and kept on living. For the last 2 years, this thing has mimicked my voice to my daughter and her father when I was not home, mimicking my daughter's voice to her father and I when she wasn't home, and mimics her father's voice to myself and my daughter when he isn't home. It whistles in the middle of the night, during the day, or any time someone is alone in the home. However, there is no consistent pattern. The property we live on is very old land that was once inhabited by indigenous tribes before the East Coast was settled. Our property was involved in a Civil War battle where a reenactment takes place every year. The activity is beginning to increase as my daughter is growing older, growing from little girl to little lady. I'm curious if whatever occasionally enters my home is tied to the land, the house, or something else. Any suggestions? I do have a suggestion. I suggest they move, but I know that that's not realistic. And surprisingly, like, they seem really okay with the whole thing. Like, they're just like, oh, we have the house blessed again. And I'm like, I don't know that I would be okay with something talking to me that wasn't there. But I'm not them, and you do you, But I don't even know. Like, there's so many things in this that would creep me out and maybe be like, I'm out, I'm done, washing my hands of this. But she seems, and I assume it's a she, but I don't know, that she seems like she's just like, oh, it's fine. We'll just bless it again and everything's cool. And I don't know. Oh my goodness. Whew. All right. So that one got me too. I am a big chicken. I will admit that. But we have one more story. So are y'all ready for the last story? So our final story is titled My Night Experiences at the Waterpark Hurricane Harbor in Arizona as a Security Guard. That is a very specific title. Here we go. A number of years ago, I worked as a security guard at Hurricane Harbor in Arizona. I originally worked during the day, but shifted to nights in the off-season. On one of the nights I first worked, a seasoned guard told me that sometimes they hear things at night. I pushed back on him a lot and thought it was a hazing, calling him out, thinking that they were just trying to spook me. I talked to my superiors in the coming days, and they also told me that sometimes a voice of a woman is heard at night, and people see things. My superior told me she personally heard a woman talking in the bathrooms by the lazy river, which are checked and locked after the park is closed, and when they unlocked it in the middle of the night, there was no one there. I was told before Six Flags owned the park, a woman fell off a slide that no longer exists and died. At the time, I couldn't find any information on it, but checking the park's history recently, I found it. It's true. Back when the park was originally Water World Safari, a woman did fall off a slide named Kilimanjaro and died of head trauma in 2001. My encounter. One night, I was working with a newer guard overnight. We did our usual patrols to check cameras, gates, and doors. When we got to the cabanas by the wave pool, one of the TVs was still on. Didn't think much of it and shut it off and set the controller back on the table. As we were walking out, the TV turned itself back on. Weird, but wrote it off and turned the TV off again. Then, as we continued our rounds, I heard what sounded like a woman talking in the bushes by Mammoth Falls. The other guard didn't hear it, but he knew I wasn't screwing around. At this point, we were thinking some people had snuck in or something. Because of the fences and blocked off areas, we had a pinch point. He went around and I went from the other direction and closed in. No one was there. We then finished checking the entire area and nothing. As we were walking away, we then heard someone whistle right in from the area we just finished checking 100%. This time he did hear it, and we fully checked again. Nothing. If someone was there, they could not have gotten away from us without us seeing them. After that, we wrapped up and head back for the office, talking about how weird that was. I then have to use the restroom. We get back to the office and I get the key from the main guest bathroom next to the office. When I unlock the door, I hear the wet running of feet on the tile. I immediately radio the other guard and he sprints over within 15 seconds while I stand in the doorway. The door is the only way in or out. We walk through together on opposite sides and we meet in the middle. No one was inside. I don't know what it is, but every time I hear creepy stuff about a workplace, it's even creepier to me. I do not understand why. I guess it's because you think you just go, you do your job, you get a paycheck, that's it. But to have to put up with that also, oh my gosh, like I'm not brave enough. Again, big chicken. But that is awesome. And now I kind of want to go to Hurricane Harbor in Arizona. So there's that. But I want to thank you for hanging out with me tonight. Reading these stories with friends makes them a little less scary. Though I am pretty sure they're going to stick with me when I crawl into bed tonight. These were creepy tonight. Oh my goodness. I wish you all sweet dreams. And if you hear anything spooky tonight, remember, it's probably just the wind. Probably. I hope. Y'all stay crazy. Y'all stay cozy and paranoid. Have a great one.